Hello, my name's Hannah and I'm the C5 Nut. Well, we're doing a bit of electrical today. Right, so, um, what can I say? So every time I go to a car boot, literally every time, I have to buy something electrical. It's something that I've been doing since the age of 5, and obviously every time I sort of go car boot, my biological father used to say, buy something electrical and we'll make something out of it. And ever since then, every car boot I have to buy something, even if it's an extension lead or something interesting electrical wise. And just as of late, I came across something that was quite interesting enough for me to actually do a video on it. So right, so let's crack on. Okay guys, so this is what we're going to be looking at. It looks like one of them site transformers. I've got the sister one, so this is, you put 240 in and it gives you 110 coming out sort of thing. So yeah, it looked almost identical. Okay, I painted it black, it's just my sort of markings, but it just, like, it was a nice little battery charger that I really could not walk away from. I didn't pay a lot for it. You got your sort of mains coming in, going to a switch, and then it says high and low, so supposedly it will do, well, we're not entirely sure what sort of power this does. I have plugged it in. When it's on low, it does about 4 amps, and then when you turn it on to high, it sort of does about 9, maybe 10 amps. So it's it's a bit sort of quirky, really. The little light comes on. The red one doesn't work at all, so I'm not entirely sure if that's a blown bulb. But you can see this bloody amp meter. Yeah, it's seen better days, really. But I'm not entirely sure what this is able to produce. Why would you stick one of these on if it goes up to 30? So yeah, it's a bit bizarre. So this is the old power lead, and then these two here go off down to some sort of clamps. So what I would like to do is modernise this, really. So on eBay, good old trusted eBay, I got one of these. Now this is a voltage readout as well as an ampage readout. This will go up to 10 amps unless you pick it up with one of these, which is a basically is an amp clamp, and you connect that to this, and then this will then go up to, I think is 100 amps, might be 200 amps. So for every amp this actually shows, that's actually 10 amps going through this. Now I'm not going to install this at the moment because, like I say, I'm not entirely sure what this is able to produce. So the plan is to disassemble it, replace any broken things, change these power leads. I mean, these have seen better days. I mean, look at that, a bit of nasty looking there, and I just would like to take that out and shove that in its place. So yeah, right, I'm going to pause the video. Let's get these stupid leads off. Let's take the top off and we have a closer look inside. Okay, so I've now just cut these main key leads off, and I've taken the screws off the top. So let's take that off. Well, let's have a look inside. Well, there's a nice big transformer in there. These are the switches for the primary, the secondary coil, which is there, and also hidden behind that plate just in there, there's another few things in there. It looks like it's it might actually be enough to actually produce about 15 if not 20 amps. That's a little thermal sort of thermal fuse. So when this fuse gets hot, or the transformer gets hot, this will actually trip. And the way how it's actually wired up looks like that. When that actually trips, it actually puts a light on, or the red light, to say that it's tripped. So even though the green one works, that will only trip if that stops. So yeah, that's quite intriguing. Yeah, there's not a lot to look in here really. It's just a nice little basic battery charger. What I want to do is obviously remove this the amp meter, and install a new modern type one in there. So yeah, that'll be fun. Right, I'm just going to start stripping everything down and start prepping this to go inside there. So yeah, I'll bring you back. Okay, so it's been a few hours now. Had to get the old Dremel out and cut this. Oh my days, look at my bloody bench. Yeah, not to say about my trousers. I didn't really cut it straight. In all fairness, I'll just quickly cut a hole. There is going to be a plate like this that's going to go over the top, and this is actually, believe it or not, is number plate plastic for making number plates. But what I wanted to try and do is, I didn't want to take all this label off. I want to try and keep it sort of what's the word, I still want it to have character, but give it with like a slightly more modern take to it. So I'm going to be painting this. That's going to go over the top there with the dials and God knows what else. We're going to put that nice little display in there, so that will be sort of there. As I'm working on it, I can't help notice this here. Let's zoom in. The 2nd of March 1982. I would say that's when it was manufactured. And you want to know the scariest thing? So I'm currently sitting down right now. This battery charger is actually older than me by 4 years. 4 years. This is 40 years old. This battery charger's 40 years old. Kind of scary. Now what else is mine that's older than me? Possibly the oscilloscope. Not entirely sure. Yeah. 40 years old. That's nuts. That really is nuts. Yeah, so because it is old, I want to try and preserve it, but also keep it functional. So, yeah, right. I'm going to go and get high on some paint, and I'll paint this and then bring you back when it's ready for assembly. Okay, and as you can see, what a transformation it's got. Well, just to keep sort of in theme with the big one, the 110 amp one, I just wanted to do a sort of like a little sister one really. So I know you guys are going to go, oh, you can't do that because this hasn't got a fuse in it and all this stuff, and actually it does, because I've inserted a nice lovely fuse in there. So this plug will be plugged into sort of like 16 amps, and obviously that will then sort of protect it, because it really, this isn't 16 amps, it's more like probably 5 or 10 amps. So still got the original switch, and that one's original, even including the original sort of cable grip thing, that's original. That isn't, that's something I fitted new. So yeah, looking pretty smart in here. Now I'll see if I can zoom in. Just down there you can see the old amp clamp. As I was redoing the fronts, I thought to myself, well, the old amp clamp went up to 30, so there's a potential that this thing might actually do 30 amps. So I thought, better play safe, I will just insert that amp clamp in there. So it's got, you know, the amp clamp, I thought it was rated to 100 amps. It's not, it's actually rated to 50 amps, which is brilliant. It's even got new cable. Let's have a look at the end of here. See, new amp, new clips, shiny. Yeah, it's just looking really, well, slightly modern, but yeah, number plate's on there. It's sort of, I've left this bottom part sort of covered, you know, it's still covered with a number plate. It just protects it a little bit better. But yeah, it's looking pretty smart. And then eventually put the old tap on. That's nice looking. That's a nice looking transformer, really. Yeah. Well, I think what we're going to do is let's screw the top back on, and I'll get it plugged in, and we'll see if we can make something happen. Okay, so I've now got it plugged in. Everything seems to be okay so far, so I was going to switch that on. Sorry about the flickering, that's down to the camera. This is all LED, but yeah, you can see it's just about stabilising now. What I'm going to do is connect that to that. So I'm actually charging my booster pack, and on the lowest setting, 13.7 at about 4 amps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flick the high setting, and let's see what it will charge to. Okay, 15 volts at 16 volts is quite high. Yeah, I think the thing is this booster pack is like fully charged, so that's probably why it's always giving me that false reading. I'll tell you what, let's find another battery, and let's see what this thing can do. Okay, so I've now got a new battery. Even though the unit is actually switched off, I'm still getting power, only because obviously I've connected to the battery. So I'm just going to disconnect the battery now. Oh no, I've got no power. So 12.1, the battery does need charging, right? So let's switch that on. So at the lowest setting, it's 13.8, well, coming up for 14 volts at 4 amps. Now let's ram it up. 11 amps. Still don't quite like this high reading, but then again, I'm not entirely sure what the actual, you know, what, I don't know how accurate this thing is. Tell you what, let's just get the old multimeter out and let's see what's actually. Right, let's get the old meter out. Trying to do this one-handed is not good. Right, that one on there, that one on there. Okay, so it is charging at a higher rate. But then again, it is kicking out quite a lot of ampage. Yeah. I mean, it is a quick charge. And I do know some quick chargers do actually increase the voltage just to ram the power through. But obviously, you don't want to keep it on 16 amps or 16 volts for too long. So I'll just set it down to low. And it is slowly coming back down. Yeah, I might look into possibly getting the transformer rewind. It might even have the diodes might actually need possibly replacing at some point as well. They are quite heavy duty diodes in there, so I might consider at some point possibly to change those diodes. That should bring the voltage down. Yeah, I'm pretty tired now, it's getting on a bit. So voltage is now dropping 14.6, roughly 14.7. I would say it's just there. So right guys, I'm going to leave it here. Quite an interesting battery charger. Okay, it might still have a bit of issues, especially with that voltage. I mean, 16 is pretty high for a battery, but then, you know, it is quite old. You know, it's 40 years old, so I think it could do with some more of those diodes. I think what I probably will do is do a follow-up video in a couple of weeks' time. I mean, there's not really urgent, but I will be changing those diodes, and hopefully the voltage will come back down. So yeah, it's a nice little quirky battery charger, and even though I possibly may not use it or got a use for it, because obviously I've got modern stuff, it is quite quirky, and I do like quirky, especially on my electrical bench. So I think I'll probably just keep it for looks. But yeah, nice little one. Right, well, I hope you might have found this slightly interesting. If you haven't, I'm awfully sorry. It's just one of them electrical videos that I tend to do. But yeah, if you like what you see, please give us a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And just may, I might possibly make another video. Take care, guys. See you soon.